10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. We're on the air. Hi, welcome to this test transmission on 2on2sday, which should be starting a week's time. That's Tuesday, the 13th of January. My name is Carl Dalla, and I was playing around with Hangouts on air about 4 or 5 months ago before I started getting ill. I had a whole lot of illnesses. I had a very bad fall coming out of a meeting, and that shook me up to something terrible. And then I had one illness after another, culminating with double pneumonia. Now, when I was in Palestine in I think 2004 or so, I got this terrible pain in my chest, and so I quit Palestine and went back to Jordan, where I had a hotel booked, and then checked myself into a private medical centre, which was like a 5-star hotel. It was really wonderful. It cost me £1,500 for a night, so it's hardly National Health Service, but they said, "You've got double pneumonia, Carl." So anyway, the nice people at the nice people at the embassy in Amman in Jordan persuaded Royal Jordanian Airlines to bring me home early, and so I got home, and so I knew what double pneumonia felt like, and so I went to the A&E at Bradford Royal Infirmary, and I had to wait around because I was hardly the most urgent. There were people there with blood pouring out of them, and all sorts of terrible things going on. It was early in the morning, so there weren't too many drunks around, I was happy to see. But anyway, eventually, after 7 hours, I got, they took an x-ray and they said, "Oh, you've got double pneumonia." And I said, "Yes, I know that. I've had it before. I have a tendency. I've had pneumonia several times in my life. The first time, I think, was in 1951, yes. And I went to see the doctor, and I rang up the doctor, and this was in Upper Norwood in London. I went up and I rang up the doctor, and I said, "I've got this terrible pain in my chest." He said, "Oh, it's probably fibrositis." I said, "Oh, what's that?" He said, "That's the terrible pain in your chest." I said, "Well, thanks very much. So I'll take painkillers." Okay. He said, "No, don't take painkillers." Oh, so he said, "You better come and see me." So I went to see him, and he listened to my chest. He said, "You've got pneumonia." And he put me in hospital. I was there for 3 weeks. Well, this time, with my double pneumonia, I was there overnight. And wonderful people they were. Hang on, I'm sitting a bit awkwardly on my seat. I'm just going to... Right. Now, I've been looking at the news, which is one of the things I'm going to do in this program. And it's relevant to what I've just been saying, because according to BBC News, the NHS in England has missed its 4-hour A&E waiting time target. As I say, I was there for 7 hours before they actually put me in a bed. It's the worst quarterly result since the target was introduced at the end of 2004. Well, we all know why that is, don't we? The NHS is subject to creaking privatisation, isn't it? Well, let's see what other news we've got. US company SpaceX has postponed an experiment to bring part of its Falcon rocket time to a soft landing on a floating sea platform. It's now been rescheduled for Friday, so don't go. Not quite sure. In the Atlantic. So if you're going to be sailing at the Atlantic, watch out for falling rockets. MP Mark Pritchard is urging a review of the law and anonymity. As a regular member of Alcoholics Anonymous, I should know how to say that. Anonymity is, forget it. Anyway, apparently Mark Pritchard MP, there were allegations of rape against him, but the police have decided not to take it forward. And so he says he's glad it's over, and those accused of 6 offences should have anonymity. Well, actually, I think a lot of people, excuse me, I must stop smoking that stuff. A lot of people who are accused of all sorts of things, they then are found innocent of, or the police decide not to proceed as they did in this case, could benefit from some anonymity. Let's see what other news we've got. Price of Brent crude oil has fallen again. I wonder if that'll be reflected in the petrol pumps. A World War II veteran who disappeared from his nursing home to attend the 70th anniversary D-Day commemorations in France has died. God bless him. He was 90 years old. I'm 90. I'm 84 on January the 29th. Don't send me any cards, please. But I've got 6 years to go before I get to that. There's an organisation in Germany protesting against Islamization. Well, I live in Manningham in Bradford, which has a high proportion of Muslims there, and we really get on well, as long as we don't get into stupid arguments about, whether Jesus is the Son of God. I mean, as I said to an imam, I think he's the Son of God. You think he's not the Son of God. We're never going to come to an agreement on this. Why don't we concentrate on what we really have in common, which is that there is only one God? And he was a little surprised because he thought Christians believed in three gods. That's the confusion in the Trinity. But like me, I'm a father. I was a son when my mum and dad were alive, and I'm a husband. So that's like 3 in 1. I have no problem with the Trinity, although it is a bit complicated. Let's see what else. Oh yes, the next 24 hours are critical in a bit. By the way, I'm getting these off I'm going to show you my screen. That's what I'm doing it on my Android phone. That's where I'm getting it from. Osaka ran aground in the Solent off the coast of the Isle of Wight on Saturday, listing at 48 degrees on Bramble Bank. Well, they can always go out and pick a few blackberries, can't they? What else? Cancer cases will reach a record high. 2.5 million people living with cancer in 2015. The good news, of course, is that a lot of people are getting cured of cancer, but we really got to stop it. It's becoming a plague, isn't it? By the way, my wife Gloria has Parkinson's, and we're working very hard to find a cure for that. She is on medication, but all the medication, and this is true of lots of medication, isn't it, has side effects. And so she takes the medication, but then she has to have a lie down because of the side effects. This Andrew sex. Am I alone in getting bored with all these things in the media about sex abuse? Yes, it's terrible. I was abused as a child sexually. So, I know it exists, but I think there's a bit of a witch hunt going on, to be perfectly honest. That'll probably get me in trouble with lots of people. But, I think imposing your sexual desires on is absolutely unforgivable. But I'm not sure that sending them to prison is the answer. There we are. Right, now then, what else have we got here? Pakistan is going to try terror suspects in military courts as part of plans to tackle insurgents. I found it rather amusing, really, on that subject. But were you watching Homeland on the television? The Pakistani authorities mustn't have liked it very much because it really showed up the collusion in the movie, in the series, the alleged collusion, shall we say, between ISIS, the Pakistani Secret Service, and the Taliban. I'm sure that there is collusion between secret police in the world and various terrorist organizations. Some of them were actually set up by the secret police. like for instance the Al Qaeda. Anyway, trial. They're going to try these guys. There's a new vaccine for Ebola, which is going to be tried. How is that lady doing, I wonder? The one who was flown down from Scotland to be treated in London. The last I heard, the news wasn't very good. I do hope she's well. I've been praying for her. AirAsia flight QZ 8501, or QZ if you're watching this in America. They're still looking for that. The Kurds have seized a key Kobane district. They're battling IS. Of course, IS is so-called Islamic State. I think I know quite a bit about Islam, and I don't see really where there's room for what they're doing in the Quran. But you know, that's a relic of the Anglo-American war on Iraq. I went to Iraq as a human shield, as some of you may know. We tried to stop the war. I also demonstrated against Saddam Hussein when he was our best friend. And I actually, dear me, I should have brought a glass of water to the studio before I started, but I'm sorry I haven't done that. I actually was in touch with the anti-Saddam Hussein underground when I went to the Babylon Festival in, 87, I think it was. So I've known quite a bit about Iraq. I've worshipped in the Syriac Catholic Church in Iraq, as well as, of course, a Christian church. And, you know, things under Saddam were not ideal. He was a vicious dictator, and he imprisoned and executed a lot of my comrades when he took power, incidentally working from a list given to him by the CIA. But on the other hand, I was against the war on Iraq, and of course the consequences have been very plain to see. I received a blog. I received a blog from someone, a socialist blog, and he said Tony Blair should be expelled from the Labour Party. I'm not sure expelling people from things, but I think he needs to be held to account. I'd rather see him brought before the International Criminal Court for war crimes. Right. Let's see what else we've got. First time, the number of first-time buyers of houses in 2014 rose to its highest level in 7 years in 2010. I've got to say, I think we've been a victim of a con perpetuated by Margaret Thatcher, persuading us that we needed to own the houses we live in. Rent is good. It's a very economical way of doing things. Buying property puts you in the hands of the bankers, and we know that they cannot be trusted. So what we need is affordable housing. But we see affordable housing being advertised, and they're talking about houses that the average working Joe couldn't afford. Some middle class people could afford them, but what we need is more council houses. Bradford is full of the most wonderful houses that were built by the council, either between the wars or just after the war. And they're brilliant. Big gardens, wide areas around them, green on the side of the road along there. But of course, they're now all privately owned because people were persuaded that they needed to own the place they lived. Well, we did own them, folks. They were owned by the council, which means that they were owned by us, not the bankers. Anyway, I have a word for bankers, and it rhymes with bankers, and it begins with a W. And I once got very criticised for I had a political meeting. I sang my song, "The Banker is a Wanker," and they said we don't want to hear language like that. So that's why I didn't say that the W word this time. Let's see what else we've got. A student has raised £45,000 to help the homeless. Well, good on him. But you know, the way to help the homeless is to build houses for them. An investigation has been launched after a rugby player with a broken leg was left waiting on the pitch for 3 hours for an ambulance to arrive. Well, that's the NHS again, isn't it? Those guys are doing the best they can. When I was in hospital for my pneumonia, and incidentally I went in to have a pacemaker changed a week later, so they said, oh, not you again. They're wonderful. They're coping with the most incredible difficulties being placed in their way by this dreadful government. Am I being a politically motivated, biased, dogmatic man? Yes, I'm a socialist, and I joined the Labour Party in 1945 because we wanted to change the world, and we got the NHS, the coal industry was nationalised, the railways were nationalised, and that's all gone by the board. And I think Ed Miliband ought to put in his manifesto for next May's elections at least to renationalise the railways. By the way, I was in London over Christmas, went to visit my son Stephen and his partner and little boy Tyler, he's gorgeous. And I've got to say, people, they're wonderful parents. I wish I'd been as good as they are. They play with him all the time. They talk to him all the time. Stephen's partner is Polish, and she's talking to him in Polish, so he's going to grow up bilingual. And he also, by the way, has a Polish passport as well as an English passport. So this is the way of the future. Anyway, we went down for Christmas and planned to come back on the day after Boxing Day. There are no trains on Boxing Day. And that was the 27th of January. Well, do you remember? Chaos, because they chose to do some engineering work on the line over the Christmas holiday, and they were still doing it on the 27th of Saturday, the 27th of January, and closed King's Cross Station. When you had to go to Finsbury Park to get the train, thousands of people there, and you know, milling around. I wished I'd had my guitar there because I could have made up a song about renationalise the railways, renationalise the railways. Oh well, perhaps if I get my guitar out, it might work a bit better. Fortunately, in a way, because Gloria is disabled, a policeman took us through the crowd, and we got on the next train. Even so, it took us 7 hours to get home to Bradford. We had to travel via York. Talk about traveling, going the pretty way. But there was a missed opportunity. I mean, I didn't have my guitar. I could have sung without the guitar, I often do. But somebody should have been giving out leaflets or taking petition forms, renationalise the railways, so this doesn't happen again. Unfortunately, I think everybody was sleeping off their Christmas dinner because nobody was doing that. Right. Man's been killed in Ballymoney, aged 40. Ballymoney, that's in County Antrim in Northern Ireland. A woman lived in the same house, was assaulted, but her injuries weren't life-threatening. We don't know who did it. Water tests are going to be carried out on a lake because this 7-year-old boy, I think it was a boy, Zane his name is, lovely picture of him. Look, there he is. He presumably went swimming, but there were hydrogen cyanide forms released from floodwater from the lake. No, he didn't go swimming, but he died from carbon monoxide poisoning, and there are going to be tests carried out in the lake. Right, so what else have we got? Anything technology. Oh, this Sony business. Yes, was it North Korea? Actually, there's a problem about blaming it on North Korea. This is this very backward country, and I have no time for the dynastic dictatorship of that so-called democratic republic. It's not a republic, and it's got a now it's the third generation, isn't it, of one family running the country. I've got no time for all that rubbish. But either you've got to make up your minds, people. Either the Democratic Republic of Korea, or whatever it's called, is backward, and can't keep the electric light working, or they're clever, very, very clever hackers who managed to persuade Sony Pictures to withdraw a film that criticized whatever his name is. I know of, and in some cases I actually know them personally, hundreds of hackers who could have done it, and some of them might well be sympathetic to North Korea and did it on their behalf. But I think, speaking as a person who works in the media, I've got to say I'm not in favor of censorship, and my belief in that is absolute. I was always saying, when I was in Moscow and Leningrad before the fall of the Soviet Union, I was saying to people there, listen, dissent is part of the dialectical process. Remember dialectics? They tended to look rather glassy-eyed at me, because Marxism, Leninism in the USSR had become something of a secular religion, and the actual practice of dialectics, which more or less ceased with the death of Stalin in 1953. Incidentally, I've written 9 plays about the death and life of Stalin, and I'm hoping that at least one of them will be shown on the anniversary of his death. I'm looking for a producer, and I'm looking for somebody to play Stalin. We did a show at the Playhouse Theatre in Bradford, must be 11 or 12 years ago, to celebrate the anniversary of the October Revolution. And there was a sketch I wrote there, which featured Stalin, and of course Stalin was a provincial. He was a Georgian. I was shocked when I was having a nice cup of coffee in the cafe in Leningrad, where Pushkin used to go, and there were these local students who wanted to talk to me because I was clearly a Westerner, and they discovered I was English, and so they were practicing their English on me. And this lad came up and he wanted to join us, and they said, "No, you can't join us, you're a bloody Georgian." And to come across that sort of racism after 70 odd years of a socialist society was really quite horrifying. Anyway, I've lost my way now. I don't know what I was going to say. So now I'm going to try a few other things that you're supposed to be able to do with Hangouts on air, because I've got 7 minutes, and basically this is something of a test operation. This is a drill. This is not the real thing. Did you see Close Encounters on the television? I really love that movie. Yes, this is not a drill. So let's see. Screen share. I've got a few things set up, and I want to see if they actually work. So I'm going to screen share. Right, now then, here we are. It says, oh yes, right. Okay, now this is a film I did to celebrate the visit of the 3 wise men to Jesus. So I'm trying to play a video. Come on, boy, baby. It keeps flashing up, but it's not playing. Hang on, I'm going to try running it. Well, that doesn't seem to be working. So let's try another screen share. I've just finished writing a play. And I don't know, you should be able to see this. This is a play I've written. It's a bit of a joke. A jeu d'esprit, I think is what the French call it. It's set in a bar, and the characters from books and movies. Jerry Cornelius is there. James Bond is there. And the dude, you know, from the Big Lebowski, he comes in. I've just finished writing that, and I'm really rather pleased with it. So I'm gonna, you can see the opening. It's called As Time Goes By. With any luck, it'll be shown as part of the Page to Stage operation in Bradford. So I'm going to stop that share. Here I'm back. Come on. Yes, here I am. So now what have we got? Got 4 minutes left. Let's see what else I've got that I can share. So well, this shows the entire screen, and I think when I clicked on this before, let's just see what else I've got here that I might look at. Do I want to run this file? That's because I'm setting up iTunes, because I have to have iTunes running if I'm going to run a Hangouts app on my iPad. Yes, folks, this may shock you who know that if you know that I'm not too keen on Apple. I'm really a PC man. I bought an iPad in November, I think, and no, it's okay, but I prefer my Android mobile phone, which is a Moto G on the EE network, folks. I'm plugging EE because I'm having terrible problems with BT at the moment, but hopefully they'll get sorted out in due course. Anyway, I'm going to stop sharing, and here I am now. Let's see what else I can do. Now, I don't know if anybody here is, no, it says I've got 0 viewers. So nobody's going to ask me any questions, so I'm going to turn that off. Anyway, I'm down now. Oh, if you're into football, according to The Independent, there's transfer news about Manchester United, Arsenal, Liverpool and Chelsea. I know nothing about football. I know that they bowl the balls over arm now, don't they? But it's not my scene, I'm afraid. So I'm going to. I have the Independent set up to send me messages of the latest, because I'm a guy who likes to keep in touch. Now it's 2:29. We're just about to finish, but so I'm going to. Hopefully I've learnt something with this. I shall be viewing it all, and next Tuesday, 2on2sday. That's figure 2 on figure 2sday. Will be hopefully on air 2 p.m. GMT next Tuesday, January the 29th. Anyway, bye. A rather belated Happy New Year to you, and be good to yourselves, because if you're not good to yourself, why on earth should anyone else be?